Good afternoon, good evening. Chris Loiser here, the owner and founder of SBG Editions, the publisher for Ascendia Season to Thargos, and I'm really thrilled to be here this evening to kind of present where we're at with the campaign, give you a lot more background as to the company itself, who's behind the scenes in developing this game amongst many others, and also maybe address some of the topics that have arisen over the course of the campaign so far. So I'll kick this off first of all presenting SBG Editions. So the company was formed just 3 years ago. In fact, we had our 3-year anniversary on the 17th of May, so just last weekend. And it was set up to publish a series of games from my Cursed Empire RPG IP, which I'll be explaining a little bit more later on. Also, we provide corporate coaching through serious games, role-playing for negotiation for sales teams, for example, but also some family games as well. To get into retail and position ourselves with our complete games catalogue. So basically, company's been around 3 years, I was saying. Personally, I've been involved in business for nearly 30 years, international business, and the team, we have a mixture of freelancers from the creative side, artists, miniature sculptors and so on, miniatures painters, and also from an operational side, it's kind of a family business, my brother involved, my wife also on the administrative side, the website and some accounts assistants, and myself, we have an intern marketing, and then Philip, of course, in this case, is the lead game designer for Seasons of Thargos, Ascendia, and that's really the team itself. We just to kind of give a bit more background as to the kind of games catalogue, we have self-published and self-financed 5 games, which we've done a localization for in German, French and English. Now these are indeed smaller games, so we have, for example, we have here Kidnapper, which is a really fun kind of family game, bluff memory mechanic, easy to play up to 8 players, 2 to 8 players, and we also have another game called Card Sharks, another fun family game, also kind of dexterity, real-time action with that. It's a lot of fun. And then we have Heroes of Thargos, which is a game I actually published. I kickstarted this actually, the first edition. This is second edition. So we actually kickstarted the first edition of this. Only 600 copies. It was a very small print run, my first crowdfunding. And this is second edition, which is now in French, German and English, which has some expansions as well. It's a deck construction game. All of this is set in the Cursed Empire universe, or game universe. And then we also have another game called Battle Mages. So this is another card game set in the Cursed Empire universe as well, and Thargos as well. A mage battler game up to 6 players. So there's a series of games already out in multiple languages for the most part. We also have Copis, which is another game in a more artisanal format at the moment. We're going to go to mass production on that as well. So the point I'm making here is we are already established as a games publisher. We already work with different game designers from the US. We're developing various games with different designers in the US. Also, obviously, Philip on Ascendia from Germany, Zach Luca in Cyprus. There's a bunch of, and Stefano Di Maria in Italy. So there's a whole team, international team behind the games you're seeing come together. Now, one thing I'd like to show you is a bit more about the kind of Cursed Empire IP, because this really is where Ascendia is kind of set in terms of the game world. So here, this is a catalogue we give out to retailers, notably, and also customers at game shows. We do a lot of game shows. I'll be explaining it later on. But this was really the Cursed Empire setting itself is I won't obviously read this and bore you with this, but you have just a kind of basic overview of the kind of setting, the ambience, the main drivers, the theme, but then also the kind of some of the dark fantasy visuals of the game itself, or the setting. And then you can see, as I just showed you, you have the already some games that are out with Heroes of Thargos, the deck construction game, Battle Mages, the Undead expansion, an upcoming starter deck / expansion, which is collecting followers now on Gamefound. We're not pushing that yet, but it will be upcoming. And then we have, this is really the kind of cornerstone, it's really the heart of the whole Cursed Empire setting is the RPG. Now, I'll be showing you a few more books. I'll try to flick back from this screen. But basically, this is third edition of the Cursed Empire RPG, which is also just has a holding page at the moment on Kickstarter. And it has also fifth edition module for those who know about it, for D&D players to get into. We have an extensive miniatures range, for the Cursed Empire RPG. This has been done in collaboration with a fantastic sculptor out of the UK called Dan Kelly from Liontown Miniatures. And there's a whole bunch of miniatures in the range themselves, within the range. And here you can see, in terms of the kind of big box games, what we now call the big box games, where Ascendia fits in, Guilds of Kernor, a area control slash deck builder, a Metbetok, more a hex city crawl adventure game where you play a lead character and you have different minions and followers that come along with you for the ride. A lot of fun there, and working with Ryan and Evan out of the States, and The Hunt, which is a huge dungeon crawler, which I'm actually working on, but that's been put on standby because of course we want to get the other games out first. But just to show you, really, there's a whole roadmap, and here's a real focus in this brochure, of course, on Ascendia, which we're putting forward. But here, I was really keen to kind of show you this, because just to give you an idea, there's a whole roadmap laid out for the games in the range, some which are already self-published, lower cost, lower risk. Lower cost, it's just cards, so manufactured in Poland, in Germany, and now we're looking obviously for bigger box games, Ascendia being our first bigger box game in total transparency, but a step up, and then even more heavyweight games going to a full dungeon crawler with minis, and a lot more minis than Ascendia, and a lot of dungeon tiles and a lot of gaming goodness. So that's really where we are, just to explain that in terms of the game's catalogue. Now, I also just want to give you a bit of an idea. We do, I've published a ton of RPG books. 2001, I first published first edition. There's a graphic novel, comic, and so on. And in 2004, second edition. There's a GM screen, and there's the core book as well. So, you have a whole range. There's 2,000 pages in print. There's an absolutely massive game world. 30 years of world building to draw from, and Ascendia is just part of it. Ascendia is a more remote area of the game world, hence the visuals are different, the vibe is different, but it's starting to have difficulties. And this is really the fun side of things for people who want to back the game and get into the game, because you are setting out to become leader of the Valley of Ascendia, which of course lost its leader, and it's a classic scenario. There's no obviously no one to follow, and basically you have to be worthy of the trust of the villagers of the valley through your deeds and actions, and you collect renown points. Renown is an integral part of my game world. In fact, it runs through the RPG. You have renown in the card game as well. So it's a really key, a core mechanic or core currency almost of credibility in the game setting. It's a big part of the RPG as well. So Ascendia itself really is it's a very exciting game, and we were absolutely thrilled to be presenting this at the moment. But I'd like to address a little bit get into a few concerns, frankly speaking. We launched the campaign on the 15th of May. It started really fast. We were happy, 33% within 6 hours. We were looking to fund really quickly, and then it slowed down. And we saw some comments on, for example, shipping costs. There were some very valid concerns. Now, to put in context, the shipping costs with the information we had to hand at the time, we hadn't had some of the prototypes come in quick enough. Some of these items, this is absolutely massive. You can see how massive this dice tower is. I'm just putting it against my head for scale. It even makes the Troger next to me look pretty small. He's over there, actually, the other way. But basically, some of these items, in terms of weight, volume, and so on, came in late, and we were still waiting for some feedback from some of our logistics partners in different hubs like the US, UK, and EU. And we did notify at the bottom of our shipping costs that these were still subject to change and so on. So certainly there was some frustration and understandable concerns, but you'll notice there's been repeated, in fact, almost a ton of updates and communication around that. That's been revised, and we feel the shipping costs are really fair. In fact, many of you, and I'd like to thank many of you in the comments are recognising that. So that's one thing I'd like to mention. Another thing which came up, actually, interestingly, overnight, last night, this is really hot off the press, a chap in un monsieur en Canada, un francophone, so French speaker in Canada, put in a really valid comment in the thread, and you can find it there. You can see my response in French and English as of early this morning, about the concern, and this has come up through two other sources now, some backers, about is the 22,000 euros a realistic target to make this game. It absolutely is, and I want to put this in context. As a company, we're not just we're not doing this as a hobby. This is not just make a game, get a crowdfunding, move on. We have plans for Ascendia. We think it could be a fantastic mainstream game for a much broader appeal. And basically, the idea is to go into retail. We already have secured some pre-orders into retail, direct to retail, so better margin for us. That was just recently, having seen the prototype, we could show them a complete prototype. And this has put us in a very good stead for that. But of course, it needs to fund. What does 22K do for us? Very simply, 22K covers the print run for 1,000 copies, which is the kind of baseline we have MOQ with our manufacturers out of China. And I'll explain where some of the other items are coming from. It's not just China, because we also decided to mitigate the tariff situation as well, which is very volatile. But we have so with that, you have the minis version and the standee version of the game. And I just decided, in terms of investment as a company, we're investing in the future. We're not loading the full cost of the molds on this one campaign. We'll be doing reprints. Hopefully, if the campaign funds really well, we'll be doing a much bigger print run. I'd love to do 2,000 copies. That's kind of in the benchmark of what we're looking at. In that case, the mold costs will be spread out a lot better for us. But I'm just taking an investment. The mold lifespan and how many minis you can get out of the mold are many thousands. So it's just an investment, and really we wouldn't want to load that total cost on this campaign. We have bigger plans for Ascendia, much bigger plans. It's already coming out, as you can see, in German and French and English, dedicated print runs, plus PDFs now. We'll be having for Spanish and Italian, and who knows, if things really take off, we'll have fully fledged Spanish and Italian versions of the game and so on. So we have big plans. This is not a one-off. This is not just a blip. It's a big thing. We're also going to be at UK Game Expo. I talked about trade shows. We're going to be at UK Game Expo actually showing the game. This is mid-campaign, so it should go to boost mid-campaign. So if people want to try it in the UK, they're welcome to come and try it with Philip and the whole team. Most of the team will be on the stand at UK Game Expo. That's stand 2836, SBG Editions. And we do Essen, we'll be at Essen as well. We do all the big shows. So I mentioned this, I think, in one of my recent posts, I did in the comments response this morning. We attend a lot of game shows. We do 10 to 12 a year. We have been for the last 3 years. We've been very active, more than 30 shows, and we do sell direct. And selling direct, of course, means better margin for us. So by selling direct, the balance of games we don't obviously provide as pledges for the crowdfunding will be sold at conventions, at shows, and that brings in a lot of much needed cash to obviously grow things, and that's how we operate, frankly speaking. We do have some basic distribution in some countries, but we are trying to get the numbers up, ramp up the numbers as well there. But really, a lot of our income is coming in directly from shows, so that's really where we are with that. What else can be said? We do have there's a few other things I want to cover, and about pledges and so on. You can see there's a whole different levels of pledge. The core game itself is actually quite a bit of a beast. I'll just go and grab a box here. It is a prototype, but you have here the dice tower. You have here the core box, and it really is a pretty chunky box itself. You have in there for the standee version and the minis version will be the same size box. We decided to have one single size box. You're not going to have a big gap of things floating around. There will be a tray either way, holding the different game pieces in place, whether you have minis or not. But it's a pretty hefty box. You can see to scale it. It is a big box, a big game box. And also other things to kind of mention. I referenced the add-ons. Now the dice tower I showed you on, I painted that, so very recently. But literally at the moment, what we have is it will come in unpainted form, so you'll get that unpainted. And at the moment, and I mentioned this also in the comment response this morning, that depending on the print run, we'll either do this 3D printed or it will be mass produced, and we'll need, I think, about 500 orders of this to actually mass produce it, the mold cost and so on. There's a one-off, obviously a fixed cost for the molds, and then you have the unit cost. But at the moment, we can provide a really nice, it's a great dice tower. It's a real showpiece on anybody's gaming table. Other things I'd like to show you as well. So we're just showing some of the things we have here. But these are the Guardian. They are both mini dice towers, individual dice towers for players. Collectible. There'll be a numbered series 1 to 200. And these are sculpted by some great guys, Cedric in Bordeaux in France. So also getting some of the European partners to get involved. The dice towers are printed in France as well, and these are really fantastic, dice towers. Or you get to choose dice tower or a card or deck box with a little dice tray at the bottom to store your dice. But done a cracking job. They actually match up here. The Guardian there with the what's over here, which is pretty clever. So the Guardian there and the framing of that, and it really is. If you look at how the actual relief on that, the actual 3D effect is absolutely fantastic. He's done a great job on that. So we absolutely love that. So these are in limited supply, and one of the add-ons. Reference the trays. There may be some questions about the deluxe trays and organizer trays. They will be made to fit the box. The prototypes we've seen are looking really good, and but the design will be, once we finalise the actual the trays inside the box, the minis and so on, they will be made to fit. So that's still a prototype at the moment, but and that's out of Poland. So we've got French companies involved, Polish companies, and I was really keen to mitigate some of the tariff situation, frankly speaking. So with the core game and minis are out of China and all the rest is European, and of course that means we need to drop into central hubs in Europe and so on, and then redispatch certain things. So that's all under control from that perspective. In terms of timescales and risk is, if it funds, it's all good in the sense that the actual files themselves, the visual files, the design is really progressing, and we're having a whole update. I mean, Philip, he's also involved in a lot of the graphic design. We'll be doing a full update, some of the new graphic design elements. There's some fantastic developments. We're really excited. If you think the prototype looks good now, people tend to already. You'll see what's coming next. It really is exciting. So that's underway as well. In terms of timescales, even though we extended the stretch pay to 6 months, we are still targeting a pre-Christmas release. This is really important for us to get this into people's hands before Christmas. We want it to be the game under the Christmas tree, or people get out on Christmas Day, and so on. We're really excited about that. So it's still looking on target for that, as long as we fund and we get things moving. And from a cash perspective and total transparency, as long as the funding's there, then we're good to go. There's a down payment on manufacturing, and anybody in the industry will know that, and then you pay upon shipping. Often that's the case, and we're all good to go. So there's no concern from that point of view, from a design point of view either. And there's a lot of things that are already there and done. So it really just a bit of fine tuning. The rule book is a draft. So what you see on the website is draft. There's already translation underway with the current iteration of the rules in Spanish and Italian. French was also started as well. So we're pretty confident in terms of the timescales will be good. I mean, there's obviously these projects, a lot of things to cover. In terms of the risks, once again, we are pretty confident. This will be a game we're really starting to get into our catalogue. It's also a milestone for us. It'll be our first big box game, and hopefully we'll pay the way for a lot more. It's also an entry point to the exciting world of Thargos, which has a lot of other things to go out and discover, and hopefully people get excited about it. Another thing we did as well, and you'll see that in an upcoming update, is around the miniatures. We've had a request and we saw the poll. A lot of interest in the miniatures, but also interest in unboxing. So we'll try and cater for everybody's requirements, so make sure everybody's happy with what they're seeing. But basically, Damien Espiol, who's our painter in Grasse, he's local to us here, really literally 10 minutes drive from home here, who painted the minis, did a fantastic job. He's also written up a step-by-step tutorial, which we're actually laying out right now, getting into English as well, because obviously he's a French speaker, doing the layout, and you'll be getting a free, obviously, download PDF for painting the minis. So we're really excited about that as well. So we're doing a whole update on the minis with the tutorial download. And the idea was really because this is a Gateway Plus family game to begin with, but I'll explain a few other aspects of that, to kind of get a whole family around the fun of getting the game, getting the tutorial, getting the miniatures out, undercoating them, and getting a nice kind of creative, tidy space to paint the miniatures as a family. And Damien has actually catered for three different levels of paint and finish. The ones he's done for me, I will not be using on the board. I'll be terrified. I would not be happy if someone drops them. But basically, there's other levels of finish of the paint job, and you can see that step by step, that whole tutorial, which I think is really fantastic as a kind of family activity. Now, I also mentioned the kind of Gateway Family Plus game. Don't be fooled, and don't think this is just a very simple game and people will get bored with it, and it won't cater for more experienced, more advanced players, because actually we've added extra layers of gameplay that mean that people can increase the difficulty levels. They can add more spice to the game, a bit more complexity in their decision making. There's a ton of stuff in there, believe me, there's a ton of stuff in there, and that really is quite important to be aware of. So the idea was to have a base game, which almost acts almost like a tutorial to the base game, and you can play that with kids. And the idea is also when the kids go to bed, this has always been the kind of the slogan we have. I came up with for this, which I like. It just captures it. It's the game you buy for the kids for Christmas, but when they've gone to bed, you just get it back out with your friends. So, and it really is like that. And in fact, we had, if you look at the testimonials on the campaign page, there's a gentleman there, French guy in Toulon, who really put it very nicely. And he said we had a sweet spot. There was a sweet spot here for this game because you're getting the kind of heavy, big game vibe. And I like big, heavy games. I'm really into that. The Oathsworns and some heavier games, and even Kingdom Death and things like this. But at the same time, on Gloomhaven, a lot of people, they find it very hard to get those games out. They can't find the gamers. People don't have 3, 4, 5 hours to sit around a game and play, or go for a whole campaign over multiple weekends. The idea with Ascendia, you get a real tabletop, fun vibe, RPG, sandbox game. And in fact, if you look at the Kimberly Tolson coverage on Rado's channel, Rado's run through, it's interesting because you kind of characterize this as Catan meets Skyrim, which we're very happy with that. People want to characterize Ascendia and call it Catan meets Skyrim. Very happy, because obviously these are two well-known IPs or games and so on. So we're really excited about it. There's a ton of stuff we can add to it, but also the stretch goals are really exciting. And the thing is, you have the lower tiers where there are things we can add very, very quickly and at a relatively low cost, so that's an easy thing to do. There are some higher tiers, and we'd love to get to the higher tiers that have some really incredible stuff. But let's hope we can fund first of all, and then we can go to the next level with that. But hopefully I've addressed most of the any questions there may be. There'll be more things coming, but we're really excited about this. I'm really thrilled. I'm very proud on behalf of SBG Editions to be looking to publish this. We've had a fantastic collaboration with Philip, but also our designers, the artist Ryan Verhagen with his fantastic artwork on the animals and beasts and the fauna and flora of Ascendia. Then we also have Martin Paz Romero, who did the cover and done some of the other characters as well, some of the other artwork. James Churchill, who's done a lot of the work on the hexes and so forth. And there's been a fantastic team. Dan on the minis, Damien on the painting, Bruno on the photography, and the marketing team, and Claire on community management, and Mace on marketing, and my brother on ops. It's just a real family event. My wife giving me a hand, and also being very patient with me, because this obviously takes over our life and has been a big thing for us. It's nearly been 3 years working on Ascendia. Will be 3 years at Essen precisely. So yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully this has been interesting and informative. I'll try to keep it short, and believe you me, those who know me, that's very, very difficult to do. But yeah, it's an exciting thing to be working on, and we're just really, really thrilled that we are where we are. I'll just literally, we also have, I've got this next to me, just temporary, this is a mock-up now, it's not the final, but the Ascendia game mat, where you can place your hexes, and you can also place the cards down. We've got placeholders, so it just makes a really, really nice table presence. The actual dice tower, there's just no way it can fit on that mat. It's just huge, and the idea was you just put that where you find that suitable, but it's just a really nice showpiece. And in fact, because I tipped everything out, you probably can't see this now, but they're all over the table now. There's a little cave here, and you have the renowned tokens. So you have to actually go delve in the cave, and you have the renowned tokens in there, and then of course the whole dice tray, and yeah, I just tipped everything out literally. So that's all there. So yeah, so hopefully it's given you a good idea. I could be showing the minis, but that'll be another session. We actually show the minis and so on, and hopefully we've covered shipping, we've covered the the financial side of things, the funding. It is a real funding goal. it is a funding goal, and that's it. So we know we have direct sales at the back of that. We have some commitment to orders from some retailers direct, and we're very happy with that. So of course, if we do better, fantastic. Because if we do better, we'll do a higher print run. Which could only be a good thing. And then also maybe you can bring in some other languages. So there we are. Really hope that was informative. It was a bit of fun. I certainly had fun doing it. And I didn't put this guy here to make me look good, but that's the Troger there, the absolute beast. That's a big boss in the boss fight kind of side of things in the more advanced game. And then of course you have the Guardian over here. So these creatures are absolutely fantastic. Big threat in the game. And then behind me, of course, the heroes, which maybe you guys, who knows. So back the game at whatever level you come in. We'd be thrilled to have you on board. The whole team would be really thrilled, and we just want to see this thing happen. And who knows, it could be under the Christmas tree end of this year. Thank you very much. Goodbye.